Ever met someone who pulls you close, makes you feel like you finally matter, and then out of nowhere, they disappear? No argument, no closure, just distance, and suddenly your mind starts spinning. You check your phone 100 times. You rewrite the last message, thinking maybe you said something wrong. You replay every little detail, trying to find the moment it all started to fade. But here's the truth. Nothing changed because of you. It changed because they needed to feel in control again. The avoidant mind loves closeness until it starts feeling real. Then they run, not from you, but from the fear of being seen, of being vulnerable, of losing their edge. They pull away quietly, knowing exactly what it does to you. They know you'll start overthinking, doubting, chasing. They know you'll try to fix what they broke, and that's where they win. Because the moment you start proving your worth, you've already handed them the power. But not this time. This time we flip the script. Because once you understand their pattern, the game stops working. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You just breathe, and let silence do what words never could. You let them wonder where your energy went, why your attention doesn't chase anymore. That's when everything shifts. Because the real control isn't about chasing or convincing. It's about staying centered when they expect you to fall apart. So stay right here, because by the end of this, you won't just see through their game. You'll walk away with a kind of power they'll never understand. Calm, quiet, untouchable. They're not cold because they don't care. They're cold because care terrifies them. An avoidant person lives in a quiet war with themselves. They crave closeness, but the moment it starts feeling real, something inside them panics. It's not you that scares them. It's what you represent. Connection, vulnerability, the possibility of being truly seen. Because being seen means being heard, being needed, being known. And for someone who's spent their life surviving on emotional distance, that's dangerous territory. So what do? They pull back. Slowly, subtly. The texts get shorter, the calls come later, and suddenly you're the only one keeping the conversation alive. You think maybe they're just busy, maybe it's a phase, but it's not. It's their defense system kicking in. Every time intimacy knocks, they build another wall. Every time you reach out, they take another step back, because deep down, they believe that closeness always ends in loss. They learned early that love isn't safe. Maybe someone left. Maybe they were judged for showing emotion. Maybe every time they opened up it turned into pain. So now even when they want to stay, their instincts scream, run before you get hurt. And that's the hardest part to understand. You think they don't feel, but they feel too much. They just don't know how to hold it without falling apart. So they hide behind silence, behind sarcasm, behind excuses like "I just need space." It's not space they need, it's safety. And here's the twist. The more you chase that safety for them, the more unsafe it feels. Because in their mind, the more you want them, the more they fear losing control. They pull away, not because you're too much, but because they've never learned how to handle enough. So before you take their distance personally, remember this. Their avoidance isn't rejection, it's protection. But protection built on fear isn't strength, it's prison. And the only way to free yourself from it is to stop trying to rescue them from walls they chose to build. Because the moment you stop running after them is the moment they start running into themselves. It always starts the same way. They pull back, and your mind fills in the silence with a storm. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that if you just show them how much you care, they'll come back. So you text, you call, you explain, you write long paragraphs trying to make them understand that you're not the enemy, you're the one who stayed. But that's the moment the trap tightens. Because every time you chase, they pull further away. Every time you explain, they listen less. And every time you try to prove your worth, they start believing you don't have any left to protect. It's a cruel cycle. They withdraw, you react. They retreat even more, and the more anxious you get, the calmer they seem. That's not coincidence. That's control. You see, avoidance feed off balance, not love, not connection, but emotional control. They don't need to dominate you physically, or shout to make you small. All they need is your attention, your emotional energy chasing what they're withholding. It keeps them safe, and it keeps you spinning. You start doubting yourself. Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe I scared them off. Maybe I should have been more chill. And just like that, you start dimming your light to keep their comfort intact. You silence your truth, hold back your needs, and walk on eggshells just to keep the peace that only exists on their terms. But here's the truth, they'll never tell you. The moment you start chasing, you stop being the mystery. You become predictable, accessible, and easy to manage. And for the avoidant mind, predictability kills desire. They crave the safety of control, but the thrill of distance, and your chasing gives them both. So the real trap isn't their silence, it's your reaction to it. Because when you start proving yourself to someone who's not even listening, you forget that your silence was your greatest strength all along. The power was never in convincing them to stay. It was in showing them that their distance doesn't move you anymore. That's the moment the game starts to break, and you begin to take yourself back. There comes a moment when the noise in your mind goes quiet, when you finally stop asking, why are they like this, and start thinking, why am I still chasing? That's where the shift begins. You see, the only way to flip the avoidance game is silence. Not the kind of silence that screams revenge, but the kind that says I've seen enough. It's not ego, it's awareness, it's control. You stop reacting to their mixed signals, their sudden coldness, their breadcrumb messages that show up just when you start to move on. You stop explaining your worth to someone who was never listening. You stop texting paragraphs and start protecting your peace. That's when the dynamic changes. Because an avoidant feeds off your emotional reaction. It's proof that they still have power. But when you stop reacting, that power collapses. Suddenly, your silence becomes the loudest sound in their world. They open your chat, expecting another message. Nothing. They post something subtle, hoping you'll notice. You don't. They start wondering where your attention went. And that thought, that void you leave behind, starts echoing louder than any text you could have sent. And here's the beauty of it. You're not ignoring them to play games. You're detaching to heal. You're choosing stillness over chaos, presence over panic. You're stepping out of the loop and letting the balance of energy shift back in your favor. Because the one thing an avoidant can't handle is someone who no longer dances to their rhythm. They don't know what to do with peace. They can't control. Your silence forces them to face what they've been running from, themselves. So put the phone down, take a walk, feel the air in your lungs again. You're not losing anything. You're reclaiming everything they made you forget. Because true power doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. It simply stops reacting. And in that moment, without saying a single word, you flip the entire game. There's a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when everything shifts. It's not when they text back. It's not when they finally notice your absence. It's when you stop needing them to. Detachment isn't about walking away bitter. It's about walking away balanced. It's the art of realizing that peace was never supposed to be earned. It was yours all along. And when you detach, you're not losing them. You're regaining yourself. Avoidants crave control because control makes them feel safe. It gives them the illusion of power, that they decide when to connect and when to disappear. But nothing confuses them more than calm, because peace is unpredictable. Peace can't be manipulated. And when you find that inner stillness, they start to feel what they've spent their whole life avoiding: uncertainty. They expect you to react, to beg, to reach out again. But when you stop doing all that, something inside them cracks. Your silence becomes a mirror, and for the first time they see the emptiness their patterns created. They start replaying moments, wondering when you changed, why you're not available anymore. And that's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, they start searching. But this isn't about making them miss you. It's about remembering who you are without their chaos. You start pouring into yourself again, journaling your thoughts instead of texting them, moving your body instead of overthinking, reading instead of rereading old messages. You shift from waiting for their attention to building a life that doesn't need their validation. And that energy, that quiet confidence, it radiates differently. People notice. You walk lighter. You speak slower. You smile without a reason. That's the power of detachment. It doesn't make you colder. It makes you clearer. You stop reacting from pain and start responding from power. You stop chasing comfort and start becoming it. Because the truth is, peace isn't found in their return. It's found in your release. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never trade it for someone who only shows up halfway. There's a kind of silence that doesn't punish. It reveals. It's not cold. It's not cruel. It's clarity. And when you reach that point where you no longer chase, explain or beg for understanding, your silence becomes their mirror. No blame, no drama, just reflection. Avoidants spend their lives running from the truth of who they are, from emotions that feel too heavy, from connections that ask for depth. But when you step back, when your energy disappears from their world, they're forced to look into the quiet and finally see what they've been avoiding all along, themselves. At first they'll pretend not to care. They'll scroll past your name, act unbothered, post something casual. But late at night, when everything slows down, their mind drifts back to the calm in your voice, the warmth in your presence, the way you never asked for much, just honesty. And then it hits, that your silence isn't anger, it's acceptance, that you're not waiting, you've moved on. And that realization stings deeper than any argument ever could, because for the first time, they can't run. There's no one left to blame, no noise to drown in, just their reflection staring back, showing them the love they pushed away, the peace they mistook for boredom, the connection they were too afraid to hold. Your stillness becomes the space where their patterns echo back at them. They start feeling the very emptiness they once made you feel. They realize that control without connection is hollow, that distance doesn't protect them, it isolates them. And here's the poetic justice. You didn't have to prove a thing. You didn't fight, chase or explain. You just stopped participating in your own pain. That's the power of the mirror. When your silence holds more truth than their words ever did, it doesn't scream you lost me. It whispers, you did this to yourself. And that whisper is the sound that keeps them awake long after you've found your peace. Everyone talks about control like it's a competition. Who texts first? Who waits longer? Who cares less? But real control isn't about the game. It's about what happens when the game stops. True control is calm. It's quiet. It's the strength to sit in silence, without letting your mind tear you apart. It's not about making the other person wonder where you are. It's about knowing exactly where you stand. You see, avoidants thrive on emotional imbalance. When you react, they feel secure. When you chase, they feel powerful. But when you stay centered, grounded, still, unbothered, the whole illusion falls apart. Because now you're not following their rhythm. You're creating your own. That's what they never expect. They expect anger, reaction, a storm. But you give them calm, and that calm confuses them. Because it means you've stopped playing by their rules. You're not trying to win them back. You're just done losing yourself. And here's the truth. Most people never learn. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove how much you've healed. Self-respect speaks louder than revenge ever could. It's in the way you no longer respond to half-hearted messages. It's in the way you protect your energy, like it's sacred. It's in the way you say no, without guilt, and yes, without fear. Control isn't about power over someone else. It's about mastery over your own emotions. It's being able to feel everything, hurt, disappointment, longing, and still choose peace. Because peace isn't weakness, it's direction. It's knowing that closure doesn't come from them. It comes from the moment you stop waiting for it. So look them in the eye, not with anger, not with ego, but with quiet confidence that says, I don't chase, I choose. That's control redefined. Not silence as a weapon, but silence as strength. Not withdrawal as punishment, but presence as power. Because the real flex isn't showing them what they lost. It's becoming someone who no longer needs to be found. So the next time they pull away, pause. Don't panic. Don't chase. Just breathe. Because silence isn't losing, it's leading. You don't have to match their distance with desperation. You match it with direction. Back toward yourself. Every time you stop reacting, you take your energy back. Every time you choose peace over panic, you rewrite the pattern. You stop being the one waiting for their message and become the one they can't stop thinking about. Not because you're playing a game, but because you finally stepped out of it. That's the twist they never see coming. You heal. You glow. You rebuild. You turn the pain into power, the confusion into clarity, and suddenly, their control doesn't work anymore, because your happiness no longer depends on their attention. You've learned that closure isn't a conversation, it's a decision. The decision to stop begging for peace from the person who breaks it. The decision to protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. So when they come back, and they usually do, you won't need to prove anything. You'll smile, wish them well, and keep walking. Because once you stop playing their game, you've already won it. The music softens, camera zooms out, you exhale slowly, calm, centered, unshaken. And as the screen fades to black, the quote appears, silence is power, detachment is control.